Hello YouTube, and welcome back to Brewing with Magic. Well, we've got more spoilers for you today with an emphasis on the WITHERBLOOM College, also known as Golgari. So, before we get into the cards today, we're going to go ahead and tell you a little something special that we're doing. Will? Hello, Will. What's that something special?
Well, hey everybody. We are still trying to give away these 3,400 gems. We're so close. We're literally right there. So if you are watching this and you're enjoying the content and you want to subscribe, you have a chance to be one of the lucky few to get a free 3,400 gems, and especially right before a new release. So that's just free packs that you get, and we're willing to help you out. So please join us and be part of the community.
Thank you, Will. So as he said, subscribe, super easy. Share this with friends and family if they love this kind of content. Like the video, leave us a comment down below, and let's get into it. Before we get into WITHERBLOOM, though, let's get into all the cards that we missed since our video yesterday. So first, we have a Modal card for you. So the first side is a blue side, 2 blue, 6 colors, Jadzi, Oracle of Arcavius, legendary creature, human wizard, 5/5. Discard a card, return this card to its owner's hand, and then Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, reveal the top card of your library. If it is a non-land card, you may cast it by paying 1 colorless, rather than playing its mana cost. If it is a land card, put it onto the battlefield. I like that. And then the backside, Journey to the Oracle, 2 green, 2 colorless sorcery. You may put any number of land cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Then, if you control 8 or more lands, you may discard a card. If you do, return Journey of Oracles to its owner's hand. So as normal with these cards, we definitely have a lot of words. So tell me what we just heard.
Yeah, with Jadzi, I really like this card. I mean, I know it's expensive. I know it's 8, but if it's able to actually get on the battlefield, it's going to do some damage. And the cool part is it protects itself. So if you are a card drawing deck and you build your mechanic around, just really filtering your deck and getting cards in your hand, then you're going to be able to protect Jadzi, just discarding it, put it back in your hand, and keep it safe. But it's the Magecraft ability that really makes this card really valuable. Again, being 8, it's going to be it's very pricey for a 5/5. That aside, the art on this card is gorgeous. Like, I love looking at the art on this, and I was like, wow, they hit it on the nail. The other side, though, Journey of Oracle. So for being able to put as many lands on the battlefield as you want, and if you have 8 or more lands, you may discard and return the journey back to your hand. So I think that's great. But here's the thing: if you get to the point where you're playing this card, on average, you probably have already played all of your hands from your hand onto the battlefield already. So again, this really works in a shell where you're drawing cards and really kind of like putting a lot back into your hand. So, certain ultimatums, let you draw more cards, so you're able to not be able to put the lands back on instantly. So you don't want to have too many flooded. So you might want to use this card to immediately put all those lands directly onto the battlefield. This seems more like a commander card for the most part. I think you're going to get more value out of it just because there's a lot of land decks out there that really could use and abuse this card, especially in a Simic kind of build. I think they can also abuse Jadzi in the long run.
Well, from a standard best of 1 player's point of view, I heard a whole lot of words from you trying to explain how these cards are going to be good, and I just don't see it. But in standard best of 1 at least. So yeah, I'm not excited about these. Let's go ahead and look at Retriever Phoenix. So 1 red, 3 colorless, creature Phoenix, 2/2 flying haste. When Retriever Phoenix enters the battlefield, if you cast it, learn. We know that's going to be really powerful in best of 1. And then what else do we do? As long as Retriever Phoenix is in your graveyard, if you would learn, you may instead return Retriever Phoenix to the battlefield. Okay.
This is going to be really interesting, especially with the learn mechanics that are going to be going on. Being able to reoccur a 2/2 coming back, and then as he enters the battlefield, you get to learn again. So meaning that he actually helps you keep filtering your cards on the outside to bring them into the deck. So this could actually potentially be a very strong card with all of the learn mechanics and lessons that you're going to be retrieving. And then on top of that, if you're building a deck with learn cards already within there, then you're just bringing him back to do more anyway. So I think there's going to be a good shell for this card, and I think you're going to see it in a lot of play, especially in decks that are built around learn and lessons.
Okay. I wonder if it even fits in like a Rakdos sack deck. I mean, if you're like milling creatures to the graveyard, this gets milled in. The next one does what it does, and I don't know. Might be good.
Yeah.
So next we have Tempered by the Orc, which is 3 blue, 1 colorless sorcery. For each opponent, gain control of up to 1 target creature or planeswalker that player controls with mana value 3 or less. So
Yeah.
potential.
Yeah, this is okay in best of one, because you get those little small creatures, and there are a lot of value 3 creatures. I mean, Lovestruck Beast, right? Bone Crusher Giants, those kind of creatures like roaming around that you can instantly just go yoink, they're mine for 4. But this card is going to be great in EDH, maybe even CEDH. With when you're playing 3 other opponents and they have mana dorks on the board, or even their own commanders that come out for 2 or 3, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to take your commanders. I think this card is going to definitely be very, very strong.
Take your commander. I didn't even think of that. I like that a lot. That's hilarious. Okay, before we get into the College of Witherbloom, last we have the Bibliplex, which is a land. Tap and add 1 colorless, or pay 2 colorless and tap. Look at the top card of your library. If it is an instant or sorcery card, you may reveal it and add it to your hand. If you don't, you may put it into the graveyard. Activate this ability only if you have exactly 0 or 7 cards in your hand. So I was super excited till that last sentence, Will.
Me too. But this could be a safety card land. Basically you have the land in play, you're always getting colors out of it, so be it. But now when you get to 0 cards, you have a high potential of not drawing dead. So you can kind of get around and maybe get an instant or sorcery, and it's just on the battlefield regardless. So you're still getting the land value out of it. I know it might not hit your color scheme that you're looking for, but if you're a Spellslinger deck and you start drawing into dead hands, this could save you. So I think under the certain builds, this card can really work, and maybe just in most decks, just as a save all. I mean, who knows?
I definitely see how it could have some value. At best, 1 in the 1 in your 60. Okay, well, let's get into Witherbloom. So first, let's start off with Beldros Witherbloom, which is a legendary creature elder dragon. So I think that's our last elder dragon, at least one for all the colleges, right? We've seen them all now. So this is 1 green, 1 black, and 5 colorless for a 4/4 flying. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with, whenever this creature dies, you gain 1 life, and then pay 10 life, untap all lands you control, activate only once each turn. So, I mean, that is their turn and your turn. You're going to be dead at that point, so I hope you did it the first time, but what do you think of this?
I think with Witherbloom right now, all of the mechanics at putting pests on the battlefield where you're gaining a life and they're losing a life, I think this can be one of the bomb cards that you need, probably a 2 of in the deck. Where you're running all of the other types of cards to kind of build around this mechanic. And if you have 7 and he hits the battlefield, you can also potentially do more with it. So say you pay your 10 life, untap all your lands. So basically he pays for himself, and then you can still keep doing more. It just depends how you work around it. I think as we learn about new cards, how we can abuse this card, I think is going to come into play. So I think you have to, again, have the right shell for it. Especially around how the Witherbloom, more of the creatures are really evolving towards that pest mechanic. So we'll see.
And as always, Will, this is why I love you. I'm half empty, you're half full. I don't see anything going on here at all, but at least you think there is some potential in the right shell. Let's go ahead and move on to the next card. So we have Harness Infinity. There is a whole lot of mana symbols going on here. We have 3 green, 3 black, 1 colorless for a total converted mana cost of 7. It is an instant. We have some really good 7 converted mana costs floating around at the moment, so maybe this is good. Exchange your hand and your graveyard. Exile this card.
Yeah.
Okay.
This card is
Groundhog's Day.
I love this card. I mean, if you're playing right now, Golgari and like Abzan loves to throw their stuff in the graveyard. And the cool part about this, it's an instant. That's what makes this card so amazing. So your opponent's end step, cool, I'm going to pay 7. I'm exchanging my hand, which is maybe just this card, with my graveyard. So we'll say I get 20 cards back in my hand. Perfect. And if you have any Fabled Passages or any other cards that help you fetch, great. You can move your lands around a little bit. Maybe this card goes well with the card we just saw, the one that says you can put any number of lands directly into play. So they can go hand in hand because you might have 20 cards in your hand. Who knows how many lands you might have? And then it also might good with Beldros, which we just spoke about, because now you might have some mechanics to move around with all that untapped land that you could be doing with those 20 cards. So there's a lot of really cool things I think that can happen with this. And I think this is one of those cards that if you play it, it's basically saying that you are going to try to win on that turn.
Okay, so not only do I agree with everything you're saying, but I just want to bring up one point, okay? Let's say you're, keeping up pretty well with a deck like, say, I don't know, Rogues, and you hit 7 land. This is a hilarious card. Now, they might still mill you out, but if they've already milled most of your deck, you're probably going to find your answer if you can survive one more turn. Okay, let's go ahead and go into Elimination Ritual. 2 colorless, 1 black, 1 green for a sorcery. Destroy each non-land permanent with a mana value of 2 or less, then add green or black for each permanent destroyed this way. I mean, I don't know what you think about this card, but in the right meta, or at least in best of 3 in the right deck as a sideboard card, I see a lot of value here.
Yeah, I think this is also going to be in Historic as well. I mean, imagine all the rogues, imagine all the goblins decks that you're playing against, and they're all, CMC 2s or 1s, and all of a sudden you pop this sucker off. You kill everything, and now we'll say you get 8 mana of your choosing, so now you can play basically your hand. Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be in Historic, but I'd love to see the build around and how we can utilize this also in Standard, due to the fact that, again, you're going to have a lot of like little creatures, 1/1s or less, on the battlefield. And remember, it says destroy each non-land permanent with a mana cost 2 or less. That means yours too. So if you're building a deck around pests, and every time you lose a pest, your opponent loses a life, you gain a life, and you decide to use this to wipe your board to finish them off, this might be the card to do it.
You know what? I totally agree. And I haven't, it's been a while since I played some evergreen formats such as Modern or Legacy. But if I remember correctly, back in the day, it revolved around a lot of low mana cost, really strong creatures. Yep. That also, but games would also go longer. So you would get to 4 mana. Well, at 4 mana, this almost wipes the board against almost all those super strong 1 and 2 drops and lets you throw your Haymaker down on the same turn. So even though, we focus more on Historic and Standard because that's what we look at in Arena, I think this is going to definitely maybe see 1 or 2 of in certain decks in evergreen formats. Then let's go ahead and look into Callus Blood Mage, 1 black, 2 colorless, creature, vampire warlock. I love me a vampire. It is a 2/1 for 3. A 2/1 for 3 converted mana cost. You had better be great. I'm going to get close to the screen. Let's see what we got here. When Callus Blood Mage enters the battlefield, choose 1. Create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with whenever this creature dies, you gain 1 life, or you draw a card and lose 1 life, or exile target player's graveyard. I love everything about this card except its cost.
Yeah, for 3, it's kind of a bummer. Like for 2, I'd be like, wow, that'd be amazing. That would be an amazing 2-drop. But this card, I definitely can see, using the exile targets player's graveyard more often than not. The drawing a card and losing a life, I mean, that's great. You might need it. And then creating the pest token, just as kind of like an extra thing if you're building around that shell and trying to use it for that kind of format. It might be a toolbox card, just throw it in there as a toolbox and try to get what you need at the time. So I think that's why they created this card. Kind of fits certain needs at certain times. But yeah, I 100% feel you. If it was a 2-drop, I would have been like all about it. But as a 3-drop, it's, it has to serve its purpose. So I'm not that excited, but we'll see how it turns out in the meta.
Yeah, at a 3 converted mana cost, it definitely leaves me a little callous as well. So next we have a modal card. We have Blex, Vexing Pest on the front side, which is 1 green, 2 colorless, legendary creature pest, 3/2. I hate me a 2 defense at 3 costs. Anyways, let's see what it does. Other pests, bats, insects, snakes, and spiders you control get +1/+1. When Blex, Vexing Pest dies, you gain 4 life. I'm already at a boo on that side. Let's see what the backside does. Search for Blex. Okay, I like that. I like the flavor so far. Search for Blex. 2 black, 2 colorless, sorcery. So far for a mythic card, I'm hoping this is super strong. Let's see. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put any number of them into your hand and the rest in your graveyard. You lose 3 life for each card you put into your hand this way. Okay. I don't know if I hate the backside. I don't like the front side. Will?
It's funny because when I first read Blex, I was like, huh, this would be fun to build if I was an EDH player and I really wanted to make like bats and pests and insects and snakes and spiders work. And now you have a commander for it, so great. So that's definitely niche if you're playing.
When do I
like,
get lions,
end.
tigers, and bears?
I know, right? And then, but and again, we have pests that are going to be very strong in Witherbloom. So he's a good lord. So if you have pests already going, and say you have a Abzan deck, so not only do you have Vexing Pest, but you also have the new enchantment that just came out that gives all your tokens +1/+1. So a lot of that mixture can be combined. So not only are you giving your tokens +1/+1, but some of those tokens are going to be pests. And if they're pests, now you have Blex. Blex is your lord. So now you're pumping them twice. So +2/+2. So, I mean, it can definitely go, you can build it under that shell and it can be very useful there. The search for Blex, grabbing top 5 cards, that's great. Maybe you're looking exactly what you need. I mean, if you're going to take all 5, you're taking 15 damage. So that's a big chunk of life to steal from yourself. But hey, I mean, who knows? You might need it, or maybe you're gaining enough life where you're able to sustain that damage anyways. But I really like the search for Blex side way more than I like the Blex side if you're actually trying to build a deck to get use out of a specific card. I think Blex himself would have to be under a specific shell.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Blex side, and I'm definitely not a fan of the Blex side. So that's just my opinion, though. I don't know if you're a fan of Stranger Things, Will, but next we have Demigod Titan, which is a total converted mana cost of either 4 black, 4 green, or the combination thereof. It is a creature demon. It's an 11/10 creature. What do you do? What do you do for 4? It's got to be a drawback. Whenever Demigod Titan attacks or blocks, sacrifice a creature. I don't hate this. If you're building around this card,
yep.
What are we? Do we like this? Are you hot? Are you cold?
Yeah, no, actually, I really dig this card. It is a beater. If you're building around this card specifically and you're making, like, I don't know, pests or inklings or any of that kind of stuff, which is like pretty accessible right now in a lot of the cards that we're seeing, especially turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. So by turn 4, he's just on the board. Remember, you haven't attacked with him yet or blocked with him. So that means on turn 5, now you're sacrificing your first thing. So the only drawback that I'm seeing, especially in like how we play Magic, is we always want to front load our deck with removal spells. So hopefully the goal is to draw out those removal spells on turn 1, 2, and 3, because it's just a feel bad when you drop him on turn 4 and you have 11 and 10 and you're like, oh, here you go, I'm going to hit you with this 11-10, and they just kill it in one shot. So that's the price you're going to pay. But I think if they can't remove this card, then you're swinging with an 11-10 and they have to deal with that. So I think it's just going to be a fun play around card in that shell.
Oh, yes. I definitely think this is going to see some play. I don't know if it's going to be good yet. I don't know if it's going to be bad yet. I definitely think on turn 5, you better have something like a Gem Razor, which normally it goes on top. Definitely going to go on the bottom of this card, but we'll see. I can't wait to see what happens with this card, other than I could definitely wait to see it coming at my face. So, okay, let's look at Poet's Quill. It's 1 black, 1 colorless artifact equipment. When Poet's Quill enters the battlefield, learn. I like that, at least with a lot of the cards I've been seeing. Not so much if a best of 1, not so much if you're playing best of 3, but in best of 1, definitely strong. And then what does it do? Equipped, creature gets +1/+1 and has lifelink. Equipped for 1 colorless, 1 black. So, the fact that it doesn't go immediately on a creature nowadays just makes it really, really hard to get behind, even though it does give you, the learn trigger. But what do you think, Will?
Yeah, this card I was, I'm on the fence about, because I really do like the learn, and it's hitting the battlefield anyway, so it's just going to stay there. being able to equip it and give it lifelink, I mean, that's super helpful, especially if you're going against like, mono red or a beatdown deck, and you're able to put this, I don't know, on Demigod Titan. And now you have a 12/11 that you're gaining life with. So, I mean, that's definitely going to help you out with. So, I mean, I could see the bonus on that side, but I agree also. I think we've been so pampered with having equipment cards immediately enter the battlefield and attach to a creature,
Right?
that having to pay two, like if this said equip for one, I would have been like, oh my god, this card's amazing.
Darn
But
you,
when you have equip
wizards!
for two, you're like, oh, okay, maybe I want to use that mana for something else. So, I mean, Poet's Quill could be very useful. I like that you're getting to learn from it, and maybe you do need the life to get yourself back in the game. So I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah, 1/1 and lifelink is pretty strong for 2, but I don't know if it's strong enough for this to actually make your front 60. It's definitely not making the sideboard, so unfortunately, because it doesn't immediately equip, I just don't think this is going to make it. So, well, next we have Sedgemore Witch, which is 1 black, 2 colorless, human warlock, 3/2. So definitely going to get stomped immediately. What do? We have Menace and Ward. Uh-oh. Does Ward stomp that? Stomp that? Ward, pay 3 life. Whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, counter it unless that player pays 3 life. Yeah, I did that on purpose. I knew what I was doing. Then Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with. When this creature dies, you gain 1 life. So, Will, Stomp Test. I don't like this card. Stomp Test. I like this card. Bone Crusher. I don't know what you think about this. Why don't you tell me, Will?
Yeah, this card, I think it's going to see play, to be honest. And the reason being, I know it's a 3/2.
I just told you why.
Isn't that great? But I think it's going to see play, because even if they stomp it, they're losing 3 life to do it. So they're taking 3 to do their 1. They're still going to get their creature on the battlefield.
It did something. It did something.
But it did something. So it actually is defending itself. The other thing, it's Menace, and Menace is always one of those tricky mechanics where all of a sudden it just works. People aren't ready for it. Right. They're like, oh, I'm just going to block it. And you're like, no, I'm hitting you for 3. The other thing, though, why I really like this card, it's the Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a 1/1 pest creature. This is a perfect build. We've already seen this in red. And with red, we have many creatures that, if I'm going to play an instant or sorcery, I create a 1/1 elemental. And everyone's like, wow, that card's amazing. It's great. This falls into that same category, because you're creating something every turn that you're casting something. So that's why I think this card is going to see a lot of play, especially when you see this card in a shell with, I don't know, we'll say Blex. And all of a sudden you have a Lord with it. So
Blex
now you're
Blex?
creating Blex, So we
Blex,
searched for him
Blex,
and we got Blex.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and then once we get Blex on the battlefield, he gives all of your pests +1/+1. So now here's your Lord, here's your build mechanic, and now you're working together. So I think this card is going to see play.
Yeah, I agree. This is one of the few 3/2s in Magic that I think is going to see play for 3 converted mana cost, because of exactly what you just said. Paying 3 mana to do 3 damage to someone isn't exactly what you want to do, but if you have other things going on behind that, that's great. So you pay the 3, you get a creature. If they do something to it, they're going to lose life. And then, like you said, Magecraft. So with the Menace, let's say your opponent throws 2 creatures and they're like, I'm going to block and kill this. Now you remove it with, I don't know, Heartless Act, one of their 2 creatures. Now, not only can they not block, but you have a 1/1. So everything you just said doubled for me. I like this card. I think it's going to see play.
Yeah.
And before we get into our last card of the night, we have a modal card, and it is a black-green modal. So the front side is black, 1 black, 2 colorless, Pestilence Cauldron. It is an artifact. Tap it and discard a card. Create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with, whenever this creature dies, you gain 1 life. Seems that's what they all do. You can also pay 1 colorless and tap it. Each opponent mills X cards, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. And then you can pay 4 and tap it. Exile 4 target cards from your graveyard, draw a card. So there's a lot of text and a lot of abilities on that front side. I don't know if I like it yet. So the back side, let's check that out. It is Restorative Burst, sorcery. Return up to 2 target creature, land, or planeswalker cards from your graveyard to your hand. Each player gains 4 life. Exile this card. So many hug cards this set. I'm tired of hugging people. I mean, we get stuff and then we also give. So I don't know. You tell me. I'm not hot on this one. What do you think, Will?
You know, honestly, when I read this card the first time, I was kind of like what you were. I was a little bit on the fence. But as you really start to like look at the card and you're thinking in your head, hey, I'm tapping this card, I'm going to create something. Okay, that's not too bad, especially if you're just drawing land, you're not being able to do something with it. You're paying one, so each opponent mills cards equal to the life you gain this turn. So if you're building around a life gain deck, and you're being able to hit them in the face for like, I don't know, we'll say 5, and you gain that much life, you pay 1, they mill 5. I mean, there can be some uses around that. I think this is going to be a card you're going to see more useful inside of like EDH decks, just due to the fact that they can gain tons of more life in shorter periods of time. So I think this card can definitely fit in those builds. The exiling 4 target cards from a graveyard and then drawing a card, actually could be useful, especially if you're drawing dead. So you exile your opponent's graveyard and you're drawing a card for 4 on their end step. So you're now drawing 2 cards and also exiling their graveyard. So I think that might be useful, especially if you're playing against any decks that have kind of recursion. So it might work there. The other one where you're returning and you're getting back stuff, I mean, yeah, it's definitely useful. I'm not a fan of them life though, if I'm to kind of go towards one build. But again, if you're milling them out, then who cares? So maybe that fits that need. To me, when it comes to arena though, I don't think this card has enough behind it to really be in the top 60. But I could be wrong.
Well, I was completely cold on this card. I'm a little bit warmer on the front side because I did that classic thing that you can do with brand new cards until you kind of explained it a little more. And the fact that the pay 4 and tap to exile 4 cards from any graveyard, I don't know why. You know, you do that thing where you just read your graveyard. So the fact that it can be their graveyard as well, I'm a little bit warmer on this, but ultimately, I don't know, at best, 2 thumbs sideways. So, and then last for the night, we have Orc Warlock, which is 2 black, 2 colorless. It is a 3/3 creature human warlock. And then we have tap, search your library for a card, put it in your graveyard, then shuffle your library. If it is an instant or sorcery card, put a +1/+1 counter on Orc Warlock. So it doesn't pass the vanilla test at a 4/4 for 4, and it doesn't per se do anything the second it comes into play. But I think there might be some value here. Will?
Yeah. I really think this card is going to be a staple in EDH and CDH. I really do, especially in recursion decks. To be able to tutor for any cards you want and put that into your graveyard. I mean, let's just think about Muldrotha, and that commander alone already plays cards from its graveyard. It wants those cards in there. And if you're able to immediately, we'll say, have this guy, survive 1 turn, you literally could combo off and get into a win condition where now you basically just destroy your other players. So I think he's definitely going to see 100% value in EDH and CDH games. When it comes to standard, though, he has to be very particular. You're going to have to build literally around a mold of a deck that is graveyard recursion. Now, we do see that in historic. So I definitely think he's probably going to be in a lot more historic decks. But if you do use him in standard decks, I think if you're playing like escape cards and you need something particular to go into your escape and then pull it back out to use it, or if you do have a recursion card of some sort and he's able to put whatever you need to win or maybe get ahead into your graveyard, then yes. But you're right. I think if since he can't do anything when he first comes out, he's going to be an immediate target. So, but if he does stay on the board, I honestly think he's going to be one of those cards that helps you win.
Okay, well, just so you know, Will, I don't know how well the card is going to work, but you're definitely going to be making me a control deck around this card in Eerie Ultimatum, okay? Because this card in Eerie Ultimatum could be just an absolute, amazing combo. You just, I mean, I don't know if it would work at all, but you have no more than 2 copies of any card in the deck other than this, Eerie Ultimatum, and anything that's a hard hitter, maybe a whole bunch of 1-ofs, and you're constantly being able to protect this with all of your, control cards that you're playing with, and then late game, you finally are able to go off. You hit an Eerie Ultimatum. I don't think they're going to survive what you do from there. I just don't.
Yeah.
So, but if that doesn't work, I don't think the card's doing much in Standard. So, okay. Well, Will, thank you very much for helping me look at all of these cards from a different point of view than I would look at them. Anybody who plays this game, I sure hope you have at least one or two other people that you can play with. And if you don't, go out and find them in the communities, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Discord, and find someone, because it's really nice to have someone else to bounce ideas off of. Me and Will don't agree on cards all the time, but, you know, that's part of it. That way we can both see things from a different point of view. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Will, for being with us. Let all the folks know what we're doing so we can stop talking about this.
Yeah, we are on the precipice, everybody. We are trying to just give away those 3,400 gems. We're right next to 100. As soon as we hit that mark, we want to give one of our lucky subscribers the ability to get some free packs, especially when the new set is coming out. So we're looking forward to picking one of you and making you a winner.
Yes, so as soon as we do hit 100 subscribers, we are giving away 3,400 gems for free to one of our subscribers at random. So please, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you if you have. Like the video. Share this with your friends and family if they like this kind of content. Leave us a comment down below. And as always, until next time, have a blast in the arena.